Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. Feels weird to be doing a podcast on a Saturday before 3 o'clock, but that's because Forest play Crystal Palace on Monday night. Always a weird night, I think, playing football on a Monday. Who introduced that, honestly? I suppose it's for the TV. Forest,
Sky.
Forest welcome Crystal Palace to the City Ground. Back in action at the City Ground. It's been such a while, and we'll look ahead to that game. And, of course, discuss the big news surrounding Forest with suspension after suspension this week. So many FA club statements and things like that. So we've got to touch on the suspensions. No better man to do it. I can't bring you a Ryan Yates interview, but I can bring you the next best thing, which is Dave Astbury. Dave, just like him.
Flatterer.
Dave, lovely to see you. How are you, first of all, mate? And also, I suppose just, Monday night, Forest, under the lights. I just still think there's a really good feeling around the club and around the place at the minute, and everyone's quite happy, aren't they?
I think so. I'm good, Max. Healthy and moving on and doing good things. Like all of our family are at the moment, which is good. And my Forest family, there, progressing and going nicely. A distinct step up from the last two seasons, I think, thus far. It's kind of so far so good, really. If you think that the only team that have beaten us distinguished themselves by a really good performance at Manchester City a couple of weeks ago. So we're playing some good stuff. I think we some good spirit, definite progress. I think Nuno's put his stamp on the club and on the way we're playing. Away from home, obviously, absolutely outstanding. I thought obviously Anfield was fantastic. Southampton was good. Brighton was decent. I thought Chelsea was just superb. A superb performance. To play 28 minutes with 10 men against £1 billion worth of investment tells you the spirit and the organisation that we have within our club at the moment. I think there are certain individuals who've helped. I think Milenkovic is a huge cornerstone of what we're doing at the moment. I think he's been a fantastic signing. Can't tell you anything he's done in the 7 games, but that means he hasn't done anything bad, really. I just think he's kind of strengthened, the spine. Sells was magnificent to Chelsea. Nicola's doing his stuff at the back. Yatesy, I thought bossed Caicedo and then, Enzo Fernandez. And then, Woody's doing what Woody does up front, and then everybody around. It's a good feeling about it, But, always the next game, and the next game is always challenging. Whoever you play in this league, there are no easy games, mate.
I was going to say it doesn't get easy, does it? And I think some people over talk in football, don't they? So many times about it's an easy game on paper. Well, every game is so challenging in whatever division. And we will talk about Crystal Palace and the game in a moment, but we've got to touch really on Forest being in trouble again this week. Fined first of all £750,000. That was for the original social media club statement type post after, of course, the Everton. Remember that, the fallout. Then Morgan Gibbs-White got a £20,000 fine and pound fine and a further 1 match ban. That was for his second yellow, which obviously wasn't a second yellow, but Morgan must have had some pretty harsh words to say. Nuno then gets a suspended ban, but then that they review that and add the one from Everton last year. It's so complicated, isn't it? And he's been given a 3-match ban and a £55,000. And of course, Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis also banned from the City Ground for 5 games. Dave, you've talked to me many times about the referee's decision is final and we don't want to be in the limelight, but I think the FA have maybe taken it a little bit too far, in my opinion. I understand there has to be some punishment for maybe some of what Forest have done. We don't know what Marinakis has done in the tunnel either, behaviour-wise. So we're only speculating here. But it is a little bit disappointing, not just to receive it, but also just to see it and to be in the limelight again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unwanted attention, but there's just a sense that the FA are almost gleefully rubbing their hands at throwing stuff at us at the moment. No club is squeaky clean. I mean, emotions run high in football. That's why we love it. And sometimes those emotions run just a little bit too high, and like the pan of boiling milk, they slip up and over the edge. Do you know what I mean? I just think Mr. Marinakis is a very passionate man, very ambitious man. He is there fighting our corner. He gets involved. It's his baby, if you like. It's all our baby. It's all of our baby. You know what I mean? For all of us, the thousands of us associated with Nottingham Forest, but for him in particular, it means a lot because he's invested, a lot of money and a hell of a lot of emotion in it. So, there are times when he's not going to be happy when things don't go well, and him being him, he's going to say his piece, and that's fair enough, I suppose. The Nuno and Morgan thing. I was at the Amex that day, and it's a bit frustrating because all I saw was our captain, our glamour boy, if you like, our talisman. Not acting like a luxury player. He put in a fantastic run to trap João Pedro, and he put in what we all of us felt was a good tackle. And then it just sort of ran on from there. It was João Pedro made sure that the entire world could see in a way that a rugby league player or a rugby union player or an ice hockey player would not have done. They'd have just brushed it off. He made sure, he wanted the whole world to know. Hertzler then said his piece. Anthony Taylor, of course, had to have his say because, when the day Anthony Taylor passes, the world will stop turning, because it will have lost its power source because Anthony Taylor is here to lead all our lives and dominate all of our lives. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of making a cup of tea, but I've got to ask Anthony Taylor first before I can do it. You know what I mean? And then he'll review whether I can make a cup of tea or not. So I don't normally get annoyed about referees, but I've always been one that I was brought up to. Those are the cards you get dealt, play them and move on. But with Anthony Taylor, I think there's a certain amount of childish ego at play. The sort of lad, I guess, he was like probably picked last at school and didn't get a game, so he had to come and make his mind up. So I find him distinctly irritating, to be honest with you, Max. To just put him in his dunce's corner. And I just looked at it, and I thought Morgan was harshly treated at the time because I thought it was his work rate. It'd be quite easy for a guy in Morgan's position to say, "I'm the golden boy. You run around for me. You do this, that, and the other." But Morgan's not like that. And one of the reasons why we've improved, I think, is because people like Morgan, while they'll do the X Factor stuff, they'll get their hands dirty at the coalface and they'll put the effort in. And I didn't think it was a sending off. Rob Jones. Maybe he doesn't know what a sending off is because he sent Willie off last year for a perfectly good tackle. And and this time, maybe conscious of what he did against Willie in that Bournemouth game, thought, no, he went like that, as if to say Morgan Gibbs White won the ball. Hertzler then encroached upon the field of play, which he has no right to do. And he's too young anyway. He should have asked for a note from his mum to go onto the pitch, him. And then Nuno's like, hang on a minute. So Nuno had his say. And I think it was a storm in a teacup that. If it's Anthony Taylor's fault, really, because if Anthony Taylor had trust in Robert Jones to referee the game, it was almost like Anthony Taylor was saying, "I'm sorry, Robert, but you're not qualified to referee this match because that decision you've given is incorrect." If Anthony Taylor had acknowledged that he is the fourth official and Robert Jones is the ultimate arbiter on the field of play in that Brighton game, none of this would have happened because Robert Jones would have quite happily said, "No, it's a fairly untidy challenge, but it wasn't the sending off offence." None of this would have happened. So I find it all deeply irritating, and so many of our family will be of the belief that the FA have got it in for us and all this kind of stuff, and you can perhaps draw that.
You can kind of see it, yeah. I'm not, yeah. You
but what I will say,
a little bit.
Yeah, but you know what, mate? A rebel club in a rebel city. So while I'm always kind of like, I don't want this unwanted, this unwarranted, unnecessary attention. There's a bit of me this year has changed my view a little bit. I quite like the idea, like you say, the rebel club in the rebel city. And I'll tell you where it came out for me, and I was really proud of it. I'm not a fighting man. I'm not, but that moment at Stamford Bridge, where Nico and Cucurella were herring down the line, and Nico, I don't know if he caught a stud in Cucurella's hair, but he went down like a thing that went down quite a lot, and then he basically rugby tackled Maresca. It was kind of catalogue of, it was like something out of a Monty Python show, Max. Cucurella then, it was like Maresca had been tackled by one of those tumbleweed bushes in the desert, right? And Maresca went arse over whatever. All of the Chelsea went, we're worth £1 billion. How dare anybody look at us? They all came charging out of their bench, their dugout. Next minute, Willy Bolly appears with Woody behind him, and Nottingham Forest, and I was so proud of them, said, you pick on Nico and you pick on me and you pick on him and you pick on him. And it basically said to me, Nottingham Forest's team spirit is really tight, really close-knit. And that then came out in the minutes that followed when they were down to 10 men, and they could have won it. They were I thought at Stamford, Anfield was wonderful, tactical masterclass, right? And they played it perfectly. And I've noticed everybody now has gone on to like talking as if Liverpool are unbeaten. Well, they're not. Nottingham Forest won there at their temple, where their supporters tell everybody that Liverpool never walk alone, and then as soon as Liverpool are 1-0 down, they all go home, right? So but coming out of Stamford Bridge, Max, I was just buzzing and with pride at Nottingham Forest as a football club, those lads on the field, and everybody that is in Stamford Bridge following our teammates. So while the suspensions and all this other tomfoolery is a little bit irritating, and I'd rather we didn't have it, it's almost working in our favour to draw our lads closer together and make them harder to beat. And they've got to use it as fuel now. Stick it in the engine and use it as fuel, Max.
Yeah, they do indeed. Right, let's look at ahead to Palace. Obviously, Forest will be without James Ward-Prowse with the sending off, and of course Morgan Gibbs-White, even though he's probably going to be injured, is what I'm assuming. But also Morgan's been given this kind of 1-match suspension, so it kind of works nicely in a way. So we'll be without Morgan for the Crystal Palace game. So hopefully he'll be back fit and ready to go against Leicester. But it's obviously a really, really big week for Forest, this, and not too long between those fixtures on a Monday and then kind of straight away again with a trip to the King Power. Dave, I think, we were just talking actually before we started recording and coming on air, and you said about how you don't think Crystal Palace's league place at the minute almost reflects performances and potentially even reflects, Oliver Glasner, a great manager. He was linked with Forest last season. We talked lots about him, I can remember. But this won't be an easy game on a Monday night. Forest without Ward-Prowse, without Morgan Gibbs-White, they're two quite influential players. But, I suppose they have to adopt, Stevie Cooper always used to talk about, but you've got to adopt that next man up mentality, and which you were talking about the team spirit there. Well, they've got to show that and go out all and go out fighting on Monday night.
Yeah, I think if I'm Nuno or whoever's in the dressing room, I don't know how close to the lads Nuno's going to get. He's probably he'll be sort of hovering above the city ground on a drone or something, handing his instructions down. But if I'm Nuno. Yeah, in the Trenton, come here, Nuno. I'll look after you, mate. Did you like a sweet? You know what I mean? As long as you don't nick my program off me, I'll be all right. You know what I mean? But I just think if I'm Nuno, I'm going to say to him, do what you did for the last nearly half an hour at Chelsea. So I think James and Morgan pretty much went off with about 15, 20 minutes to go, something like that at Stamford Bridge. And then there were 13 added on. Right. So it's around about half an hour. And Forest did not have Morgan because poor lad had to limp off. And they didn't have James because James had to somehow curtail Nicholas Jackson or Madueke, whichever one it was, from running through clean on goal. So Forest proved there and then they can go toe-to-toe with a supposed big six club without Morg and without James, right? So I think I'm not as worried this season as I might have been in previous seasons about, say, losing Morgan and losing James, because I think there are people that can come in and do a job. I think Elliot Anderson could do a job. I absolutely adore Jota Silva. he makes whether he's the same guy starting the match as he is off the bench, but in every game he's played that I've seen, he's made things happen. He is a character. I mean, he could have won it for us at Stamford Bridge. That was a brilliant. At one point, he kind of ran and retrieved the ball off somebody, and then kept charging upfield. And then obviously, he got his head on that free kick or whatever towards it. Ollers put the ball in, and he's nearly won it for us. Like, he's a terrific player. It's bizarre, really, Max. I mean, Nuno's trimmed the squad, and it's a leaner unit in terms of personnel. But I think he's got more options. So I'm relatively sanguine about whoever he picks on Monday night. I mean, they're all doing a grand job. I mean, if somebody said to me, "You'd be 10th, bang near the end of October in the Premier League," I'd be, "Wow, yes, please give me that now." You know, where this week is tricky for me is, you know, we've been to the Amex, we've been to Stamford Bridge, we've been to Anfield, and we've put up fantastic performances. But they in and of themselves do not make it certain that we're going to beat Crystal Palace and Leicester.
Especially with the home form recently, Dave, as well.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? As soon as, like, you know, for 2 seasons we talked about the home form and keep Forest up, and then when it became a thing, it stopped being a thing. And then for 2 years we were like, "Oh, Forest can't win away." That became a thing, and then it stopped being a thing, and now we're great away from it. It's almost like as soon as you start to kind of establish something as a trend, Max, and as a theme, the opposite happens. It's like, I've got a really good friend who's a Luton fan, Dave Gregory, who does a wonderful Luton Town podcast called "Oh, When the Town." And Dave's gone to the Luton Watford game at the Kenny today, and Luton have been dire. Luton have been awful, and he's going, you know, what hope? And then I looked at, I don't know if it's still the same score, but Luton were 2-0 up and playing really, really well. So just when you think you've got it pegged, it's when football switches it on you. Clough always used to say that. Always expect the unexpected in football. So I think it'd be very, very unwise to say Crystal Palace lightly. No, the coaching staff and the lads certainly won't. And I don't think we should as fans, really, because they've got some hellishly good players. The only thing I would say about Palace is some of their lads, to me, particularly like the likes of Adam Wharton and Mateta, have looked tired to me because they played a lot of football. Mateta was playing an Olympic final not long back. You know, Eze obviously is still a major threat. He's a wonderful footballer, Eze. Gerhi,
of course, Nketiah as well, that was linked with Forest.
Nketiah. I mean, he's a lively lad. Whether he can score the goals or not, that remains to be seen. That's the thing that Eddie has to prove, that he can score the goals to add to his work rate. You know, Gerhi's good. Dean Henderson in goal. They've got a good side. But maybe I think okay, they're missing Elise, but I think they're missing Joachim Anderson probably more, because he was so solid at the back. He was kind of like their Milenkovic figure last year. So I think it's I think it's a close game. Don't think it'd be a classic. I did think at Stamford Bridge it was going to be quite a goal fest. I think I had like a 5-goal thrill or whatever. This one, I think one goal either way will settle it, and I just hope that, you know, we as a football club and a family get behind them, become that 12th man, and keep Palace sort of in the bottom 3, and we can move a little closer up into the top half. Because if we take 6 points from these next 2 games, goodness me, we'll have eclipsed Derby's record. So obviously that's good, you know. And then we're like, we're not that. We're nearly. Yeah, we always do, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, we're not too far away from halfway towards the seemingly magical 40 points. So they're good fixes. But I like what Forest are doing. I said to somebody, I was chatting to somebody, and they remind me, I don't think they're as good, but they remind me of Nuno's Wolves that finished 7th 2 years running. There's a sense of togetherness, a sense of organisation. They're not flash, they're not spectacular, but they're at the moment, they're getting the job. There's quite a lot of them on redemption missions. Nuno is, Callum Hudson-Odoi is, Anthony Elanga is. A lot of them are sort of trying to find their way. Olarena is another one. I think Cloughie would be looking down, and I think he'd have a lot of time for the current Forest squad and the current Forest team. So, you know, it's can be good. it's going to be a good match. It's going to be, I think it's going to be one for the purist. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be, you watch it probably 4-4 now or something because I've said that, but I think one goal either way, and I'm going to be like Chris Sutton on the BBC, and I'm going to lean towards us getting it in the hope that the fans do their bit, Max.
Absolutely. Yeah, spot on, Dave. Some good thoughts there. And you know what? It's funny, actually. I was lucky to cover Port Vale's press conference the other week for the BBC, and I was talking to Darren Moore about Forest just off kind of camera and things, and we were on about them. And Darren said how good Nuno was as a manager with time and a plan together, and funny enough mentioned the whole kind of Wolves factor and that togetherness. And I think we have surprised a few people this year, you know, just in football and in the media in general. But let's keep it that way. Let's keep going as almost the underdogs. Let's keep going as a club that people don't, you know, don't expect to go to Big Six or, you know, the Big Six away from home and gets them.
I think staying under the radar, Max, and not getting ahead of ourselves is the way to go. It's always been the way I've wanted to go in football, you know, because I've always thought if you stick your head above the parapet and you start making big statements, we're this, we're that, somebody's there waiting for you. There's always somebody out there waiting for you. You know, and I'd like us to keep doing what we're doing. And then maybe, you know, somebody said, I mean, I still don't really know how good we are. What I will say is we're better than we've been the last 2 seasons. But as to truly how good we are, I do not know. Are we in that middle echelon yet? I don't know. Are we going to be just above the relegation? Are we going to get drawn into? I don't know. I think we'll have a better idea. Ask me after we've played Tottenham and Everton at Christmas, and I might be able to sort of think, yeah, that's where we are, and take a measured, considered view of it, you know. But what I've seen thus far, it's been really encouraging. It's been likable, and you know, we might eventually go about the season establishing ourselves. And I'll tell you what, it might be the right time to do it. I've been watching quite a lot of Championship matches recently, and I kind of beginning to think that the Premier League is pulling further away from the Championship. I watched Leeds and Sheffield United last night, and it was a rambunctious match. The Yorkshire Derby, we didn't see enough quality that would last very long in the Premier League. And I thought to myself, maybe last 2 seasons Forest might have found that a bit of a difficult job to play over those two. I watched it last night. I thought, Forest are a cut above this. So having got into the Premier League at the time they did might end up being the best thing Forest ever did. But I don't think the Championship this year is going to offer up anybody. I may be wrong, frequently am. I don't think the Championship this year, Max, is going to offer up anybody that's going to come into the Premier League and make a big impact. Do you know what I mean? So if Forest can be one of that established top 15, 16, that would be that to me would be wonderful, mate.
Yeah, we shall see. Monday night, Forest in action. Of course, it's on telly. Is it 8? It's 8 o'clock kickoff, isn't it?
8 o'clock kickoff, mate. Yeah, I've got the day off as well, so that's good.
Oh, very nice. Enjoy, mate. I shall be there as well, travelling down from sunny Manchester. So looking forward to it. Should be a good one. And then Leicester away on Friday night. Bit of a different week with the podcast, with it kind of messing us all up with this schedule. We should hopefully have a post-match episode Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll also look ahead to the Leicester game then. So we'll do almost a review and a preview in one. And then we shall be back next Saturday or Sunday for our main episode after the Leicester game. So all happening. Keep following us across Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Appreciate the support as always. And from me and Dave, no suspended sentence for us. So we shall be there on Monday night.
Nobody suspends.